are just in time for the first tournament center of the 2010 Pro Tour season with me, Rich Hagon, and him, Mr. Brian David Marshall. Let's get straight into it. BDM, what is the one thing you are most looking forward to in the 2010 season?
Well, I mean, it's the 2010 season. It's a new year of the Pro Tour. We're going to get to look at some of our favorite players, see how they fare, trying to repeat their success of the past year. And on a personal note, I really like seeing the new players. I'm really looking forward to who are the new Brad Nelsons and Conley Woods of this year, who we're going to be seeing in the tournament center, doing deck techs, and making their big breakthroughs into top eights. So it's a new year. I'm just excited to see what it brings.
All right, now, new viewers all the time, so let's talk a little bit about the format. BDM, it's a little bit of this mixed format. Explain how it's going to work out this weekend.
Sure, this is what we did last year. Players this weekend are going to play in 5 rounds of standard to start day 1 of the Pro Tour. It's a new format. We've introduced World Wake into the mix. It's the first premier event using World Wake in standard, so, you know, who knows what that'll mean. At the end of 5 rounds, there'll be 3 rounds of draft. And draft will be Zendikar World Wake draft. And then at the end of those 8 rounds, every player with a 5-3 record or better will advance to day 2. And on day 2, we're going to do the flip of that. So it'll be 3 rounds of draft, followed by 5 rounds of standard. And those 5 rounds of standard are going to be the rounds that determine who makes it into the top 8 of Pro Tour San Diego.
All right, now that pattern of the weekend is going to be the same all year long. When we go to San Juan, it will be a draft top 8. In Amsterdam in September, that will be extended. And then we come full circle when we go to the World Championships in Chiba in December, back with standard. So let's take a look on our bulletin board here. The Player of the Year race 2010 after one event. It's GP Oakland. You were there, BDM. Take us through it.
Well, I mean, the big story here was Matthew Nass. Matthew's a 18-year-old tennis instructor from Stanford, one of the Channel Fireball guys. He's been hanging out with Luis and Josh Utter-Layton, and he picked up an elf deck because he didn't have time to do a lot of play testing for Oakland. He was preparing for this event here this weekend. He said, I'm going to play elves. It's a deck I know, and he demolished the field. He swept through day 1. He coasted into the top 8, and he demolished some pretty interesting competition. Adam Yurchik, Conley Woods, Petr Broja, Tomohiro Saito, all in that top 8. And that's our Player of the Year leaderboard right now.
And it's worth saying that Tomohiro Saito, in his quarterfinal, he went, I'm trying to be Player of the Year this year. Quarterfinals, good start. So that's Player of the Year as things stand. Now BDM and I, we're going to have a little fun in the booth, a little competition, each taking 4 players at each Pro Tour and combining their Pro Tour points for a booth champion. And may the best of me win. Here's your first guy, take it away.
I mean, Tomohiro Saito is the best player on the earth right now. I know he didn't win Player of the Year last year, but if you watch him, you watch the decks he builds, you watch the way he plays them, you watch the passion that he has for the game, and he's just the epitome of a great Magic player right now. He is Hall of Fame eligible this year. I know that he, very much would love to lead that class. Probably not going to happen. There's a certain Mr. Nassif might have something to say about that, but he's just tremendous, and the focus he brings to every event just amazes me. I'm expecting big things from him all season, but I definitely expect him to do well this weekend.
All right, I'm going with the reigning Player of the Year. That is Mr. Yuya Watanabe. There he is. I've got to be honest, I'm a little reluctant. He kind of fell over the line at the end. Worlds was a really nerve-wracking time for him. Still only 21. Going to be very interesting to see how he does trying to defend his title. Back to you, BDM. Who's your number 2?
Yeah, he built the winning deck from Pro Tour Austin. Ben Rubin is a Hall of Famer. He's a great deck designer. We saw him come up with innovative decks at Worlds in Memphis. He's just been building decks forever. He's been doing this since he was 15 years old when he made the finals of his very first Pro Tour. I think that Ben Rubin is going to be. This is the event that Ben Rubin's going to pilot the deck that he builds into the top 8.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about the pilot of the deck that he builds, and here comes Mr. Brian Kibler, the Pro Tour Austin winner, all the fun of Grove of the Burn Willows and Punishing Fire, an outstanding deck, and he monstered his way through Constructed. There's a question mark over draft for Kibler, there's a question mark down the stretch, but boy can this guy win. He's been winning events since 1997. Grand Prix Toronto, he monstered the field there. in only the 6th GP in Magic history. He's been around a while. Number 3 for you.
Petr Broža of the Czech Republic. This is a player who we saw dominate standard at Worlds. He finished in the top 16 at Worlds, just missed it. He kind of stumbled down the stretch and extended. This is the guy who put Barely Boros on the map. He loves playing red. He played Mountains in every single round of the World Championships last year. He came into Oakland last week, and he completely blew up the metagame. He came in with a Barely Boros deck that was using Flagstones of Trocaire and Ghost Quarter and Zektar Shrine Expedition in Extended. Like, people were shocked looking at this deck. He sent kids scurrying to the dealer's tables. They were clamoring over each other to get at the Flagstones of Trocaire that were in the cases so that he could play in the PTQ. He completely just upset the apple cart as far as the metagame for Extended. It's a little bit of a wild card, I think, to pick him, but I'm going to go with Petr Broža.
Well, I'm going for a real wild card. You've gone for one of the pretenders. I'm going for the king, Mr. Martin User.
Oh, yeah. Way to take a layup.
Nice layout, absolutely. Now, User is Mr. Consistency. 5 Pro Tour top 32s in the last 2 seasons. You feel it is only a matter of time, and a short time at that, before he gets a Pro Tour title. And that leaves us one more guy each. So that was my layup. Who's yours?
Well, if I'm going to take a layup, I'm going to take a layup with Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa. This is a player who's just been remarkably consistent for as long as he's been on the Pro Tour. He was winning qualifiers for ages. Couldn't go to the Pro Tours because the airfare was too expensive. They started giving away airfare, and boom, he just starts winning money at the Pro Tour. He has never stopped. He was really strong down the stretch last year, and I'm looking for him to just continue. I mean, all he does is win.
Can't argue with that. I have a choice. Now, I could have gone with Tsuyoshi Ikeda. He will be playing his 500th Pro Tour match in round 1. That's a phenomenal achievement. But I'm actually going to go for a guy who in round 8, the last round of day 1, if he's still going, will play his 600th match on the Pro Tour. And that is Mr. Bram Snetvangers of the Netherlands. He is Hall of Fame eligible, and 600, that's a ridiculous number. So that rounds out. All right, let's have a look on the board at who we've got. So there's the squad: Watanabe, Kibler, User, Snetvangers.
I've got Saito, Ruben, Broža, and Damo de Rosa.
All right. Now, altogether, there are 8 level 8s. Let's take a quick look at those. There you have Paolo up at the top, User from the Czech Republic. The big thing to notice: Midamura, Nakamura, Saito, Watanabe, 4 Japanese players. The big question, it's the same question every year: can the Japanese be beaten in Player of the Year?
And I think that question is best answered by who is willing to travel around the world. That sort of kind of becomes a real grind, the Player of the Year race. It is relentless, right? I mean, if you're going to go to every event, every weekend, you're going to go to nationals. The Japanese are the only players who've really demonstrated they're going to do it. Luis Scott Vargas, he'll go to a lot of events, but he's not going to go to all of them. Gabriel Nassif, go to a lot of events, but not all of them. Paulo seems to go to more and more events every year. Maybe Paulo, but for me, Martin Juza, he went everywhere.
Yep.
And I think he's going to do that again this year. And I think this is the guy, if someone on this list here is going to sort of be the first non-Japanese player in, I don't know, what is it,
ever.
22 years to win the Player of the Year title. I think Martin has a shot this year, and how he follows up last season is going to be an ongoing story throughout the 2010 season.
Now, of course, all these guys are auto-qualified for every Pro Tour, but what about the Pro Tour qualifiers? Let's take a look at those. Just a few to take you down a select handful. Who catches your eye here?
Again, we got to go to Player of the Year front runner and Rookie of the Year front runner, Matt Nass.
California's finest right now.
This is a guy who qualified for this event in an online qualifier. He swept through the Swiss of his sealed qualifier on Moto, got disconnected at the start of the draft, and was only able to reboot 10 picks in, 10 random cards into the top 8 draft. Somehow managed to figure out that, well, I have 3 good red cards. Maybe I signaled that I was drafting red, and drafted him on a red deck, and managed to come back and win that qualifier after playing in 10 qualifiers that season. So I really like Matt, and he's definitely shown he can perform under pressure. So I'm curious to see how he does at this event.
A guy, therefore, Matt Nass with some potential, a guy who's realised potential, Guillaume Wafatapa of France. Pro Tour Yokohama champion in 2007, a man who loves his control decks, and if we're right about the metagame, there are going to be people with some serious control decks coming right up. So, that is our first show from Pro Tour San Diego 2010. In our next show, we will be taking you into the world of Worldwake, and I can safely say that this guy here, Jace the Mind Sculptor, will be front and center. But until we meet again for that, for BDM, I'm Rich saying bye.